What if the world's largest food company, the one behind your favorite chocolate bar, coffee, and bottled water, was built on exploitation, manipulation, and greed? This isn't just a business success story, it's a global saga of power, profits, and people betrayed. From baby formula scandals in Africa to water privatization battles across continents, Nestle has been at the center of some of the darkest corporate practices in modern history. But how did they get away with it? And why is it that even today, most people still see Nestlé as just a harmless household brand? Stick around, because once you uncover the shocking truth, you might never look at a Nestlé product the same way again. The baby formula controversy that shook the world. Let's rewind to the 1970s, when Nestlé launched an aggressive marketing campaign across developing countries. Their product? Infant formula. Nestlé claimed it was safer and more nutritious than breast milk. Saleswomen, dressed as nurses, were sent into poor hospitals across Africa and Asia to distribute free samples of the formula to new mothers. At first, it seemed like a humanitarian effort. But here's where it gets dark. These free samples ran out within a few weeks, just enough time for the mother's breast milk to dry up. After that, they had no choice but to continue using formula, even if they couldn't afford it. To make the formula last longer, families would dilute it with dirty water, leading to malnutrition, diarrhea, and death in countless infants. In 1974, a report titled The Baby Killer accused Nestlé of contributing to the deaths of infants by manipulating the poor for profit. The scandal triggered global protests and even led to the first major boycott of a multinational corporation. Nestlé denied any wrongdoing. But can a company really claim innocence when their sales strategy was built on destroying lives? Nestlé's obsession with water and why it's dangerous. What's the most essential resource on Earth? Water. And for Nestlé, it's also a goldmine. Over the years, Nestlé has been caught in several controversies involving water privatization. The company owns hundreds of natural springs and bottles billions of liters of groundwater every year, often for free or at extremely low costs. Take the case of Michigan, USA. While residents in nearby Flint were dealing with lead-poisoned tap water, Nestlé was extracting millions of gallons of water annually from the state for just $200 a year in fees. Meanwhile, they were selling that water back to the public in plastic bottles for profit. In other parts of the world, Nestlé has tried to convince governments that water is not a human right, but a commodity. Former CEO Peter Brabeck-Letmathe once claimed that people should have to pay for water to ensure its value. The backlash was fierce, but Nestlé continued its operations, often in water-stressed regions like Pakistan, South Africa, and parts of India, draining aquifers and leaving local communities to face droughts. Can a company that treats life's most basic necessity as a business asset ever be trusted? Child labor and cocoa slavery. You've probably eaten a Nestlé chocolate bar without knowing that behind its sweet taste is a bitter reality. In the early 2000s, reports began to surface that Nestlé's cocoa supply chain in West Africa was heavily reliant on child labor, including instances of slave-like conditions. Children, some as young as 10, were being trafficked from neighboring countries like Mali and Burkina Faso to work on cocoa farms in Ivory Coast. Many were beaten, forced to work long hours, and had no access to education. And here's the kicker. Nestlé knew. Despite promising to eradicate child labor from its supply chain by 2005, investigative reports in 2010, 2015, and even as recently as 2020 showed that little had changed. In fact, Nestlé was sued in the United States for allegedly aiding and abetting child slavery, though the Supreme Court eventually ruled that corporations couldn't be held liable under that particular law. But the question remains, why didn't Nestlé fix it? Because cheap labor means higher margins. And for a company focused on shareholder profits, morality took a back seat. Would you still enjoy that chocolate bar if you knew it was harvested by a child with scars on their back? Pushing processed food and destroying health. With a massive product lineup, from Kit Kat and Nescafé to frozen meals and powdered soups, Nestlé has dominated global food shelves. But here's the dark secret. Over 60% of Nestlé's food products are classified as unhealthy by global health standards. In a leaked internal document from 2021, Nestlé admitted that a large portion of their portfolio does not meet a recognized definition of health. And yet, these products are aggressively marketed, especially to low-income communities and developing nations, where they're often seen as convenient, affordable, and modern. But behind this convenience lies a growing public health crisis. Obesity, diabetes, and heart disease are rising sharply in regions where Nestlé's ultra-processed products dominate. They even push sugar-heavy cereals to children, using bright cartoons and toys to influence them from a young age. It's a calculated strategy. Hook them early, profit for life. The irony? Nestle also owns weight loss brands and health supplements, profiting on both ends of the spectrum. First, they create the problem, then they sell you the solution. Reputation management and greenwashing. After decades of backlash, lawsuits, and exposés, Nestle has invested heavily in cleaning up its image. They've released CSR reports, run sustainability campaigns, and pledged to use 100% recyclable packaging by 2025. Sounds great, right? But critics argue that it's mostly greenwashing, a PR strategy to mask ongoing unethical practices. For instance, Nestle promotes its role in reducing plastic waste, yet remains one of the top global polluters, according to several Greenpeace audits. They sponsor climate summits, but continue to mass-produce single-use plastics across emerging markets. They promise to tackle child labor, but rely on third-party certification systems that are often toothless. It's a case of optics over action. While Nestle spends millions crafting a responsible image, their core practices remain largely unchanged, and the world, it's slowly waking up. But the real question is, will accountability ever catch up to influence? Nestle is more than just a company. It's a symbol of how global capitalism can operate unchecked. From manipulating vulnerable mothers to draining water from dying towns, from fueling child slavery to selling health-destroying products, Nestle's story is not just about one company's dark past. It's about what happens when profits come before people. So what can you do? You can stay informed. You can vote with your wallet. And most importantly, you can share this story because silence only empowers abuse. The next time you reach for that chocolate bar or bottled water, ask yourself, what's the real cost behind the price tag?